Step 4 will remove limits on vendings. Step 4 in the easing of restrictions will happen no earlier than 21st June, when all legal limits on social contact, including vendings, will be removed. We will reopen everything up to and including nightclubs, says Johnson. He says he hopes to lift restrictions on large events and performance, potentially using testing to reduce the risk of infection. PM. The end really is in sight. I know there will be many people who will be worried that we are being too ambitious and that it is arrogant. Arrogant.
Arrogant.
Arrogant. And that it is arrogance to impose any kind of plan on a virus. The PM says, I agree that we must always be humble in the face of nurture. Others will believe that we could go faster, he says. He sympathized with them, adding, Today the end really is in sight. A rushed year will give way to a spring and a summer that will be very different and incomparably better than the picture we see around us today, he says. That's Boris Johnson's statement done. L. Neither SKS is up next. Neighbor Neither SKS has been giving his response. He says this must be the last lockdown, and he is glad. The Prime Minister spoke about caution in his statement. He adds it is a welcome change from past lockdowns, when he says restrictions were lifted without sufficient caution. Turning to schools, Starmer urged PM to look again at teacher vaccination. Turning to schools, SK reprised his call to the Prime Minister to see what more can be done to give early vaccination to teachers, a policy his party backed earlier this year. He also says the payments for those self-isolating should be available to all those who need it. He says he supports the health rationale for the restrictions on business but says there is nothing stopping the PM from announcing the extension of business support schemes today. He adds that firms are crying out for certainty. Step 4. Hairdressers to reopen on 12 April. We are a little doubt of subsequence in bringing to this news that from 12 April, under Step 2, non-essential retail, hairdressers and nail salons will reopen, Boris Johnson says. Gyms will reopen along with holiday lets, but only for individuals or household groups. Pubs and restaurants will be allowed to serve people outdoors. Step 3 to happen no earlier than 17 May. Step 3 will begin no earlier than 17 May, he says. More restrictions outdoors will be lifted. Subject to a limit for 30 people, this is the point where you will be able to see your friends and family indoors, subject to the meeting of two households. We will also reopen pubs and restaurants indoors, he says, along with cinemas, theatres, sports stadiums, and some other venues. What's in PM's lockdown roadmap? Step 1. Roadmap, 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 roadmap,
Roadmap.
roadmap. Was in PM's lockdown roadmap step 1. So what do we learn from the PM statement about which restrictions will be lifted and when in England? Boris Johnson said the lockdown will be eased in 4 steps with a minimum of 5 weeks between each step. Step 1 is in 2 parts. On 8th March, all students return to schools and colleges and school corps can resume. Secondary school students will be required to wear masks in class as well as communal areas.
Communal.
Communal areas. People can meet one other person outside for recreation, not just exercise. Care homes with residents allowed one regular named visitor. Stay-at-home order remains in place. 29 March, outdoor gatherings of up to 6 people or 2 households allowed, including meeting in private gardens. Outdoor sports facilities such as tennis and basketball courts and outdoor swimming pools allowed to reopen. Organized outdoor sports can resume. Stay-at-home order ends, but people encouraged to stay local whenever they can. Work from home whenever What's in PM's lockdown roadmap? Step 1. Work from home whenever possible. No overseas travels. Not enough time to plan for summer holidays. Theresa May says the review by the Travel Task Force on the 12th April does not allow people time to plan their summer holidays or for the aviation industry to prepare. She urged Boris Johnson to rethink these dates, saying the industry needs 3 months preparation from the point of certainty. Johnson says it will give people time to make their plans for the summer and if they can meet these not before days, there is every chance of an aviation recovery later this year. Statement tells PM to face down Tory calls for spread on easing. SK also calls for more help for those self-employed people who have so far found themselves ineligible for the various schemes offered by the government. He calls on the Prime Minister to face down those in the Conservative Party who want him to ease restrictions more quickly than he has set out. He says he should be listening to the government's 12 medical and scientific advisor instead of the lockdown spectacle COVID research group of Tory MPs. If he does this, he will have Labour's support, he adds.